Welcome to the Week 10 ONIT preview show. This week we have a couple of ranked versus ranked matchups, a lot of teams looking to pull some big time upsets, and 5 ONIT versus ONIT games in this slate. Before we get into all that, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube so you don't miss any of our future videos, and stick around to the end of the show to find out how you can be involved in our future episodes. Now, let's get into what's in the box. What's in the box? Our Week 10 ONIT preview box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams, including the 10 that are going to do battle across this weekend's slate. Then we'll move into Slab Watch, where we'll take a look at some of the players that might be making the grade on Sunday based on their Saturday performances, and we'll finish off with the checklist, a showcase of all the names and games to be on the lookout for during Saturday's 3 different time windows. Let's begin with the ONIT teams that are playing one another. Arizona State at Iowa State is the first of 5 ONIT matchups we'll be covering this weekend. Both teams come into this game 5-3 overall. Arizona State's 3-2 in Big 12 play, and Iowa State is 2-3 in the conference, and both of them coming off conference losses. Arizona State at home in Tempe couldn't get it done against Houston, while Iowa State couldn't find their footing in a loss to number 11 BYU. Turnovers doomed the Cyclones in that game. They'll be hoping that Rocco Beck can take care of the ball in this one after he threw 3 interceptions. And Carson Hansen had a great game, 16 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They would love to see the running game continue there in Ames, while Arizona State is really hoping that they'll get Jordan Tyson back. Sam Levitt really missed a good chain mover, but also a guy who can put up explosive yards after the catch and can win on go balls, deep routes, really in every part of the field. If Arizona State gets him back, the offense should look much more coherent, especially compared to how it looked in that loss against Houston. Should be a good one. Big 12 title is still kind of up for grabs depending on what happened. So a win here for either of these teams could go a long way for each of them. Another Week 10 ONIT matchup sees Oklahoma State heading to Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Both of these teams are trying to put Week 9 in the rear view mirror after their losses for the Cowboys to Texas Tech and for Kansas to their in-state rivals, Kansas State, as the Jayhawks come in at 4-4 on the season, while Oklahoma State sits at 1-7. There could be a lot of offense in this game, as going into the contest, both teams are giving up scoring drives inside the red zone at a 92% rate. So when their opponents get into the red zone, 92% of the time, they are coming away with either a touchdown or a field goal. So if moving the ball for these teams proves to be easy, there could be points galore in this one, which we always love. Jalen Daniels played a pretty decent game against Kansas State. He'd like to clean up some of the mistakes, but he had the Jayhawks offense moving the ball down the field against the Wildcats. If he can keep that up, they could be in for points aplenty. While Oklahoma State still trying to find that offense, they haven't really figured out the passing attack or the rushing attack for that matter on the season. But this is an opportunity for them to really put some successful drives together, get in the end zone a couple of times, get some confidence back as they look for their first Big 12 conference win. Let's head to Lincoln next, taking a look at number 23 USC going to Nebraska in another ONIT matchup. USC back in the polls thanks to their bye week. Teams in front of them lost, and they jump back in. They're 5-2 on the season, while Nebraska is 6-2, coming off a grinded-out win over Northwestern. Both of these teams have been offensively astute this season. Nebraska has Emmett Johnson leading the way with 837 yards on 146 carries, 9 touchdowns, including 2 in that win against Northwestern, plus the game winner for him on the ground for the Huskers. And USC has been adept through the air. Jaden Mayava has 2,100 yards passing, completing 68% of his passes, and has thrown 15 touchdowns. Makai Lemon has played a large part in that, as he has 758 of those receiving yards on 48 catches with 6 touchdowns. Part of the reason why the Trojans are 6th in the country in converting on third down. They're converting just over 53% of their third down opportunities, and that's going to be the big question for Nebraska. Can the defense get off the field on third down? Can they force USC and the Trojans into third and long situations? Or will Maava and Lemon get that spectacular connection going, find some deep shots, get some yard after the catch on some crossing routes, and run away with this contest on the offensive end? Or can Nebraska control the clock, grind them down with Emmett Johnson playing keep away, and get the Huskers a win at home in Lincoln? We'll find out 7:30 under the lights on Saturday. This was the game that everybody had circled pre-season. November 1st in Columbus, Penn State going to Ohio State. This was going to be a battle for the Big Ten. The winner was probably going to control their destiny to the Big Ten title game. Well, half of that statement still rings true for the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. But for Penn State coming in at 3-4, winless in the Big Ten at 0-4, they're trying to find just their first conference win of the season, and their task is one that is not easy. Going into Ohio State, taking on that potent offense with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, but Caleb Downs is here on his green parallel because it's the defense for Ohio State that has been such a challenge for their opponents. These numbers are off the charts. 216 yards allowed per game is best in the FBS. They're the 3rd best passing defense, the 8th best rushing defense, and they are giving up just 5.9 points per game. 5.9 is ludicrous. That is the best mark in the NCAA, not surprisingly, as Ohio State has blown out nearly every team they've played this year. And now Penn State, who thought they were going to come into this game at the beginning of the season under tons of pressure, they went into that Oregon game with lots of pressure. They have no pressure. There's no expectations anymore for the Nittany Lions. So can they come out, play stress-free, with nothing to lose and everything to gain against Ohio State and pull off the upset in Columbus? Or will Ohio State continue to roll and walk all over Penn State like they have to their other 7 previous opponents? We're going to find out at 12 Eastern on Saturday. And for Penn State, they're going into a stretch of schedule where they have Ohio State this week and Indiana next week. The number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. Again, this Penn State team has nothing to lose. Can they go into Columbus and make some magic happen? We're going to find out. Can't wait to see this one. Our ONIT game of the week, coming to you from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, has the number 18 Oklahoma Sooners going on the road to take on the number 14 Tennessee Volunteers. Both teams 6-2 on the season. Tennessee's 3-2 in the SEC. Oklahoma is 2-2. This is going to be a matchup of good versus good. One of the best offenses in the country. Tennessee averaging 510 yards per game, throwing for 321 per game. Both of those ranks 3rd in the FBS, and scoring 45 points per game. Are going to take their vaunted offense up against this Oklahoma defense that is 6th in the country in terms of yards per game, giving up just 240, giving up just 12.5 points per game, and holding teams under 160 passing yards on average. That is strength on strength right there. Our Mason Thomas and the Oklahoma Sooner defense against Joey Aguilar and the Tennessee passing attack. Deshaun Bishop might sprinkle in there too. As we saw last week in Oklahoma's loss, they were gashed on the ground. That opens up some opportunities for Bishop to have potentially a big game here at home, while Oklahoma wants to see John Mateer get back on track throwing the football. Had a lot of opportunities to move the chains for the Sooners in their loss to Ole Miss and was just missing receivers. Will another week provide him some extra health on that thumb, get him back to throwing the ball on target? Or will Tennessee's offense be too much to handle in the game of the week and the Vols come out and roll with the passing attack? This one is also under the lights, 7:30 Eastern Time from Knoxville. Oh boy, we're going to be talking about this one on Sunday in the recap show for sure. Let's talk about the rest of our ONIT squads, beginning with number 20, Texas, as they stay home in Austin to play number 9, Vanderbilt. The Longhorns are looking to upset the Commodores this week. When was the last time that you could say that as a reality? But it's the truth this weekend, as Texas found their offense in the latter stages of the win against Mississippi State. They want to continue that into this game against Vanderbilt to try to score enough points to win it, and also need to be stout on the defensive end, which they have for most of the season, as they want to shut down Diego Pavia and his dual threat capabilities. Number 21, Michigan gets Purdue at home in the Big House this week. They are expected to roll in this one. If they can run all over Purdue like Justice Haynes did a week ago against Michigan State, the 21th ranked Wolverines should find themselves inside the top 20 at some point when the polls come out next week. Our unranked squad see Arkansas go play Mississippi State at home in Fayetteville. The Bulldogs have lost 2 absolute heartbreakers to both Florida and Texas, both ONIT teams. Can Arkansas drive that third dagger into the heart of Mississippi State? And Boise State and Fresno State matchup, if you're a fan of the Mountain West, this is definitely a game to watch, as in the past, these teams traditionally play each other very tough, and it'll be fun to see who comes away with the victory in that contest. Meanwhile, Florida gets number 5 Georgia. It's the first look at the Gators under their new head coaching regime. Will it make a big difference for them as they try to upset the number 5 Bulldogs in the Swamp? And Florida State, off the disappointing loss in Palo Alto 2 weeks ago, come off their bye to take on a Wake Forest team that just handed SMU their first ever ACC loss. Kansas State gets to stay home in Manhattan against number 13 Texas Tech as they try to pull an upset on the Red Raiders. Avery Johnson and Jace Brown had a fantastic connection working in the Sunflower Showdown win over Kansas, and they're going to need to be firing on all cylinders yet again if they want an opportunity to pull the upset and to stay in a game with a high-powered offense like Texas Tech's. South Carolina will travel to Ole Miss, and the Rebels have had to be up emotionally for 2 straight games with the Georgia contest. And then last week, Oklahoma. Is this the opportunity for the Gamecocks to sneak in there and steal one in Oxford? South Carolina narrowly missing out on their upset bid against Alabama a week ago. This might be their chance to reclaim that if Lenoris Sellers and the Gamecock offense can take care of the football. And lastly, the West Virginia Mountaineers are at the surprise of the season. The number 22 Houston Cougars at 7-1 and 4-1 in the Big 12 after their win over Arizona State last week. The Mountaineers will go into H-Town and try and pull off an upset here as they look for their first Big 12 conference win of the season. Would be massive if they could get it done on the road against a ranked Houston squad. Let's take a look at who's going to be on Slab Watch this Saturday. Here in Slab Watch, we're all about finding those players who are going to be making the grade on Sunday due to their performances on Saturday. So let's begin with our running back, Deshaun Bishop, for the Tennessee Volunteers. He's carried the ball 91 times this season for 652 yards while scoring 9 touchdowns and averaging a very healthy 7.2 yards per carry. He gets an Oklahoma defense that just gave up 116 yards on the ground in a loss to Ole Miss. And if he can find some running lanes, he might end up in the end zone more often than not against the Sooners. On the defensive side of the ball, let's take a look at Anthony Hill Jr. for the Texas Longhorns. He is the team's leading tackler with 60, but he's also added 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception this year. Played a crucial part on the goal line stand in Texas's win over Kentucky. It's going to be up to him and the rest of the Longhorn defense to try and stop Diego Pavia, both on the ground and through the air, in a matchup with number 9 Vanderbilt. It will not be easy, but if anybody's cut out for that task, it's Anthony Hill Jr. as he leads the Longhorn defense. Back to the offensive side of the ball, how about Jaden Mayava for the USC Trojans? 2,180 passing yards this season, 15 touchdowns compared to just 4 interceptions. He has had that Trojan offense humming, and he's going to try and take those numbers into Lincoln and take down Nebraska. His favorite target, Makai Lemon, will be good to go in this one, and Mayava, trying to do some damage through the air, could end up getting graded on Sunday. Lastly, let's go back to the defensive side of the ball because we believe in NIL for all here at ONIT and talk about Derek Moore. 6.5 sacks this season and a forced fumble for Michigan. He's going up against a Purdue team that has not had everything rolling on offense this year. Moore might be able to cause some havoc in the backfield, especially when it comes to telegraphed passing situations. He's a guy that could play his way into a nice grade on Sunday as we take a look at the checklist for Saturday. This is the Week 10 checklist, the games and names you should be watching in each of the 3 time windows. Begin your day watching number 9, Vanderbilt, at number 20, Texas. In the afternoon, watch the only ONIT v. ONIT matchup between Oklahoma State at Kansas. Then at night, our game of the week with Oklahoma at Tennessee. And keep your eye on Caleb Downs, Taylon Green, Dylan Riley, Jalen Kilgore, and Dallas Wilson. Speaking of Wilson, he has 3 touchdowns against top 25 opponents this season, and the Florida Gators get number 5 Georgia on Saturday. That's all we have on the Week 10 preview, but we're back on Sunday for the weekend recap show. Make sure you're subscribed to us here on YouTube so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And if you want to be a part of a future video, send your best polls to the link down below. We'd love to see some of your greatest hits and share them off with the community. The link will also be in the description for you. You can upload your photos from your packs, your boxes, your TikTok, or your whatnot hits, and we'll share them in upcoming videos. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Happy ripping, and we'll see you here on Sunday for the Week 10 recap.